Biscuits and plenty of hot coffee. If you want some, please drift quietly over and get it. This morning, we're going to look at the public safety sector of our budget, which I believe encompasses about 41% of the total general fund budget. So important stuff. Before we get started, I want to say a particular thank you to police and fire, as well as multiple of the other sections in here involved for this past weekend. I'm sure there were glitches, but overall, the takeaway from this record-breaking weekend was it went smoothly. There were hard decisions that were made correctly and stuck by. The chief pleased passed to Marshall Steins. I know he had some hard calls. We appreciate it. Thank you for what y'all done. And again, ESD, code enforcement, lots of people played a part in this. Okay, are there any other comments to open up from the Finance Committee or the Council in general before we turn it over to Chief Blankley, the Police Department?
I just would again like to thank the staff and the mayor for giving us a couple more weeks to look at this budget, because this is a lot of stuff to address. And even though this budget is, in my opinion, very, very simple, Walt, it's pretty easy to figure out that raising salaries and step raise for our staff is what grows most all these budgets. But I think it's been good to have a little extra time, and I know it costs people a lot of work. And I do appreciate that part of what all have done, Walt, for working with us on that.
And I'll echo, the elephant in the living room this year is the employee pay raises and cost of living adjustments, and that's been a smooth sail. I think everybody on the council supports that recommendation and sees the need for it. Good morning, Chief. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. Wilson. I would like to make a comment.
I'm sorry, Mr. Wilson. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Being on the Finance Committee, I too would like to echo the sentiments that we're thankful and grateful that we were able to get the information out early. The information was very beneficial. I want to thank all of the city staff who have did their great job to get this to us in a timely manner, and look forward to the presentation on this morning.
All right. Page 127, Chief Blankley.
Yes, sir. Have it right in front of you.
Go ahead.
This is our operating budget. I'm here to answer any questions y'all have.
All right.
I'm sure there'll be one.
Exactly.
Thank you
Like
very
I
much.
said.
Have a good day.
Chief, do you have a funeral or a promotion ceremony?
No, sir. I have to dress up for y'all. We appreciate everything you do. So I'm gonna be in my best.
I should have worn my old white shirt.
Yeah, and I did
Likewise.
want to say the retention bonuses went into effect this last week. Had a lot of happy officers, and we can't appreciate or tell you how much we appreciate that. Heard talked to a lot of officers at the game this weekend. They were very, very appreciative. So thank you all so much for that.
Sure thing. And the quid pro quo for that is we bought 2 years. Y'all use it wisely.
Yes, sir.
Now, I think one of the biggest things in this budget is we cut 15 sworn positions. Is that right, Mayor?
We reduced those 15 positions to help free up money to allow us to get the COLA increase within the public safety fund.
Okay.
Historically, we've been somewhere between 20 to 30 positions vacant that do not get filled. Talking with Chief, looking at the data, we felt comfortable we could do that. That basically allowed us to, not only with police, but also fire, gave us enough room to do all public safety. As we, since the creation of the task force is looking at public safety overall, we look forward to having some discussion of what do we think the size of our department needs to be now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and what sort of technology, assets, et cetera, needs to be embedded in that as well. And so we're looking forward to those discussions as we talked about briefly yesterday.
Yes, sir. We also cut five auxiliary positions that we couldn't fill. They've been vacant for over a year, so we had to cut those as well to free up some money.
Okay, so let's back up a step and refresh us.
Yes, sir.
The total picture, you were authorized 290 or 200?
291, sir.
291. So we're taking 15 sworn off of that. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So we're down to 76,
Yes, sir.
276.
We currently have 38 vacancies. We have 6 in the police academy and 3 in in-house training that have not went to the academy.
Okay, so when you say 30, was it 8?
38, yes, sir.
38
That's from the
vacancies.
291.
That's 38 not hired.
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay, and then plus that 38, we've got 6 in the academy
Yes, sir.
and 3 what?
In-house, they do a period before they can go to the police academy.
Okay,
Basically,
they come back from the police academy.
yes, sir.
So 38 and 6 is 44 and 3 is 47 out of 276.
Yes, sir, I believe that's right.
What about civilian staff, chief?
I don't have our civilian staff numbers with me, I apologize. We are full, other than dispatcher positions. We just had one that resigned yesterday, but we were up to full staff in all of our civilian positions, except for one in cyber that was posted. We did not feel like we had any qualified candidates, so we are reposting that position starting today. HR is working with us on that.
Where does that show in your budget? The civilian portion.
It's mixed in with general salaries, I assume.
So there's it's not broken out by police and sworn versus civilian. Put us in the ballpark on, are we talking, we have 12 or do we have 200?
Now, if I had to guess 60 civilian staff around there, and that's a complete guess. I can get you that number. I apologize for not having
That's an important number.
Yes, sir.
We'd
I'll
like
get
it
you that number. I
because
apologize.
in looking at the total force, we need to know, is that picture expanding to compensate for the shortage of hires? Or is it also contracting and difficult to fill? How many auxiliaries do you have, chief?
Auxiliary officers, I have 8 that work in security as far as in this building and in municipal court, and I have 4 school resource officers that are auxiliaries. And then I have 10 regular officers that work in schools as SROs as well.
Okay, 8, 4, and 10.
Yes, sir.
So 8 are involved in security of the physical premises and personnel here,
Yes, sir. And then 4 SROs, auxiliaries are in the school.
and then the other 10.
The
you-
10 are sworn police
The
officers.
other 10
There'll be a
are
lot.
10 of your authorized, soon to be 276
Yes, sir.
that are sight-lined over to the schools.
Yes, sir.
Just looking at the big numbers, obviously overtime wages and holiday pay
Yes, sir.
jumps off the page.
It does, and I can talk about holiday pay a little bit. The only people that work holidays are those that have to. It's gonna be patrol. We don't have investigators working holiday. We try and cut down as much as possible on the holiday, but since we are a 24/7 operation, dispatch, patrol, traffic, some of those still have to work those days. But we try and keep that as low as possible. No administration works on holidays, no investigators unless they get called out. Now, if we do have a crime, a shooting or anything like that, of course, we have to come in and work those for public safety reasons.
And also, I would like to just remind, so both overtime and holiday pay are also going to be a function of any personnel increases that are going to be happening. So obviously the 8.6% COLA and then the 2.5% step raise will also be a factor into holiday pay and overtime. So you'll see those two jump up somewhat in correlation with the way that salaries are also jumping.
So what is the outlook? So from 23 to 24, we literally jumped 50% in that category, right?
Yes, sir.
One would hope that what drove that in 24 by 23, 22?
If you look at and Carly, please correct me if I misspeak on this. If you look at when we had the salary increases last time, the overtime budget didn't jump up with it. And when you look at a 8.6 COLA, that also affects our overtime rate. So it's naturally going to raise, and that it was offsetting that to have truth in advertising.
So would it be more instructive to talk about it in terms of hours instead of dollars? That's not a loaded question.
No, sir.
I don't know, but if we're trying to understand, I know when you came in here back in the late spring or early summer,
Yes, sir.
I mean, you said to us, I forget what the number was, but essentially, I'm 90% through my overtime budget and we've not hit football season yet.
Yes, sir, correct.
So the question was, would it be more instructive for us to talk about it in hours versus dollars, since salary increases play into the dollar figure going up? What happened? Why are we using
More
so
overtime?
much more overtime?
The strip is taking a lot of overtime. Our staffing levels have dropped down, so we're having to fill positions on the street. When we have a rash of vehicle break-ins or burglaries, we have to put details together to catch that. We've had multiple UV arrests the last couple of days that officers are working on. So whenever there's a problem, I think the way the police department's different than anywhere else in the city is any other department, if there's a problem, it's kind of like, hey, we're gonna fix it. With us, we gotta fix it right then because it impacts the safety and welfare of the entire city. So if we have a rash of vehicle break-ins, we're working overtime to catch that person. So it just goes up, and with the decreased number of officers, we don't have as many working to cover shifts. So we're having to work extra and work over. And then, of course, we're getting to football season, amphitheater events. Anything the city puts on, we've got to work, and if we've got less people to do that, it's gonna be overtime, and we can't do regular shift work to cover those.
And from a dollars perspective, and I don't disagree, Mr. Busby, that maybe an hour's look might not be a bad thing to couple with the dollars perspective. But I will say that when it comes to police budget overall in total, when, Chief comes and says in the middle of May that he's 90% through his overtime budget, we don't necessarily worry because we know that there's so many vacancies that there's going to be salary savings that will cover the overage and overtime. We really look at from a financing perspective, we will look at the department holistically in that way. Obviously, he has a hole over here he's got to plug. He's got an abundance over here to be able to plug it with, from a dollars perspective. Now, when we take away 15 positions, obviously that means that there's not going to be as much salary savings next year because he's going to have 15 position per,
That's fine.
fewer in salary dollars to be able to plug that overtime hole. So again, like he's mentioning in Truth in Advertising, we're going to need to increase that overtime budget while we're decreasing the salary dollars a little bit in order to make sure that he is still going to be level and able to do the job that is being tasked to him to do.
Mr. Busby, I meant to get this data before I came down here this morning. We have a total of 216 officers out of an available 253 who have taken advantage of the retention bonus. Of the 253, you figure we probably have a large number, Chief would know, that are not eligible yet because they're in their first year. You have to be non-probationary. That means 85% of our department has taken advantage of the retention bonus. And it gets to the point that you made earlier, that's given us 2 years to really figure out how we want to deal with the challenges that are upcoming within law enforcement. But I just wanted to thank the council again. That retention bonus made a big difference in us and bought us some much needed time to figure out the right pathway to address policing the remainder of this decade and into the next one.
Thank you, Mayor. And I want to be clear about this. I'm not picking at overtime
Yes, sir.
to curtail it.
Yeah.
If somebody breaks into my house,
Yeah. Oh,
I don't want people not showing up because I'm worried about
Yeah.
overtime.
Yeah.
I'm asking because looking out over the next year or two, I'm trying to understand the seesaw effect of overtime and authorized manning.
And that's the hard thing about what we do is when any problem pops up, we've got to fix it, and it's unpredictable at times. We may go through some times where we don't have as much overtime. We run our own reports and monitor that overtime as best as possible. A lot of those officers will give that overtime back. They don't want to work it. So, we're doing the best we can to manage that and manage it with still the safety of the city and take care of what we need to take care of.
Chief, when do you think we ought to close the window on the retention bonus? Is it still open?
It's still open. I'm good with closing it as quickly as possible. I think that the retention bonus, the way it was made is, hey, if you're going to get this, you're going to stay here. I've heard of a couple officers holding off till after October 1, just because if they're in their last 3 of 10 and maybe they're in the year 11 right now, it puts that salary towards RSA. I don't know if that's accurate for their total retirement, but that's the only thing I've heard some people are hanging on for just for that. But I don't think it needs to be open-ended. And I don't,
It's
I'm
not-
sure if that's
it's not
accurate. You know how things go, people get something in their head and they go with it, but, I do think there definitely needs to be a closing date on it.
Does that require the Standridge any council action, or is that?
We'll need to repeal the bonus, yes, sir.
It didn't have a shelf date on it.
No, sir, not when passed.
I would think sooner the better on that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Carla, what is, when we do that, we'll look at what we actually spent too, right, compared to what we kind of agreed to do, correct?
Yes, sir, we can do that, we can run that report. As of right now, we're not anywhere near, I think that we put 3.2 aside, and I think that maybe we're at like 2.7, so yeah, nowhere near it.
And the only thing I do want to clear up on that, because I know there are officers watching this, anybody that's currently in training, that would not affect them. They would be able to, once they get off training, go ahead and sign theirs. I don't want anybody to think we closing out somebody who, you know, is in phase
3
one.
days short.
Yeah, so I want to make sure that that's just.
They were going in their probationary period.
Yes, during the process, they would still be allowed to sign it when they complete their last phase of training. I know I got officers watching, I just don't want that to get out there. So, want to be accurate in everything we say.
So I've got just a couple more questions and then.
Yes, sir.
So, and this may be more of Ms. Standard's question, on page 129, if I'm trying to see the authorized personnel funding that was not spent because we couldn't fill the positions, is that fourth line down, salaries, where it says budgeted salaries 23.2 million, so far to date 17.8?
Yes, sir, that's a piece of it, obviously, you're gonna have.
We got August and September, or
Yes, sir, you'll have a couple of more pay periods in there. You'll have the, final accrual for end of the year, but then you'll also, if you'll pop down, you'll see a lot of the, benefits that are in there too. So the insurance, employee health insurance, the fire and police pension, for Medicare, those will also accumulate into a, personnel savings amount for positions that are not hired.
and so where would that total personnel savings show?
Well, at the end of the year, it will all accumulate into the surplus.
And as we go through the year, is any amount not spent on the full-time hires piped back in? So 2 lines down, there's the 3.1 million in overtime, which of course is already over budget. Is that surplus in the full-time hires piped down in to pay that overtime?
No, sir, we don't, for budget purposes, no, sir, we don't move between line items. Like I mentioned, we take departments in consideration holistically. And so when I'm looking to see when Chief comes and says, hey, God, I'm about to blow my overtime budget in May, what I look at is on page 130, you'll see his total department. His total department for 23 was budgeted for $38.4 million. Right now, he's sitting at $30.5 million. If he blows his overtime budget by another $2 million, that doesn't bother me at all. I look at their department because he is budgeted for so much more.
I hope you don't have.
You know the quote's gonna be.
It doesn't bother me if he blows overtime
The
budget.
Standards doesn't mind, I can see the Facebook article now, the Standards doesn't mind $2 million.
Being over budget. I hope that came across appropriately, regardless of how it's being quoted.
We'll still have a city if we do that.
In fact, the police department's overall budget will probably still come in under budget, even with his overtime line item being over.
Last question I have,
Over under.
and
we
this
all
is
have that
probably more a you for both Chief Smith and Chief Blunt. From the various piggy banks we've been putting money in, saving up for RSA, looked at holistically, how much do we have put away right now towards RSA conversion?
There's a slide that was in our budget presentation.
We actually have
And Mr.
Okay,
Busby, this
because
does
Busby's
give me a
wonderful.
chance to lobby for a recommendation that we came to you with a couple of weeks ago. You have $800,000+, I think roughly in surplus, or more revenue.
More revenue.
More
than we
revenue.
knew at the time of the budget.
I'm recommending we use 500,000 of that and put it into the public safety fund. Again, building up to the fiscal year 27 conversion, which would be October 1st, 2026. No, since that number is always is moving based off the prior year review of an actuary. As much as we can put in that as a kind of a safe space to help us in that transition would be our recommendation to the council.
Mayor, and I don't wanna speak precipitously, but just as I think.
You'll have to
it's very
explain
good-
what that means.
That's a Marine word.
Yeah, I'll Google it in a second.
My sense is that move would encounter a lot of support from council. But again, let's, just for talking purposes, let's say we take that 500, what's the pot look like in total?
So,
Is that on
what we're,
this?
yes, sir, so that handout that we just gave, if you'll look at the very, very, very bottom line, it'll say cumulative projected total. What we are projecting as of the end of fiscal '23 is about 3.2 million.
3.2 or 5.1?
3.2.
2023, projection of 2023,
Okay, I was looking at 24. All right,
is
but
3.2 million. Now,
by the end of 24, if we track with the budget, we're a little over 5.2-ish.
we're, yeah, right at 5.2. I will say that the revenue lines that are within the public safety fund right now are generally performing well. So I actually anticipate that it will be a little bit higher than 5.2. Obviously, we conservatively budget, and so I don't want to count my chickens before they're hatched. And so really, we're anticipating 3.2 at the end of fiscal '23 with full projection, and then we're budgeting at 5.2 for fiscal '24.
Mr. Chair,
Sure, go ahead.
Carly, you started off with 3.2. Can you kind of, will you break down for us and those that are watching the 3.2 and how the 3.2 would get us to the 5.1 that you conservatively budgeted, so that we'll understand that for those who are watching us?
Sure. So the way that the public safety fund is set up is that it was originally created to pay for the public safety pay plan that was enacted
Yeah.
2 years ago. And so what we have put together is there is 20% set aside within Elevate that is immediately transferred for public safety and put directly into this fund.
Gotcha.
That's that very top line of revenue that you'll see ETF public safety transfer. For fiscal '23, that comes to about 4.27 million.
Gotcha.
There's also an event fee for ticketed events where alcohol is distributed that we charge to certain event venues. As of right now, that is really mainly the amphitheater, so we're kind of paying ourselves for that. That's projected total of about 58,000. We're projecting the exact same for next year. Really just to be as conservative as possible. We raised the rental tax on developments that had 200+ beds, so those
I remember
mega
we
student
did that.
apartments, we raised the rental tax amount on. With the understanding that they kind of create a majority of the calls and issues that public safety has to deal with. And so that came in this fiscal year, 1.9 million, we're projecting about 1.97 next year.
Gotcha.
The agreement between the city and the University of Alabama for the public safety reimbursement for certain game day activity. That starts in fiscal '24. We did not receive anything for that in fiscal '23. So you'll see a 0 for that one in '23, but 250,000 in fiscal '24.
Uh-huh.
Carly, did the sales tax and what's happened since alcohol's been served in UA, I mean, is that performing where we thought it would?
So that's that
better
next
than-
line down, actually. So the additional sales tax dollars that we get from the sale of alcohol within Bryant Stadium, within Coleman Coliseum, within Rhodes Stadium, and so on and so forth. You know, we originally projected about $75,000 from that. we're not performing at that. This year, we were projecting at 47,000. To hit 47,000, I even think that that's a little bit, hopefully the Texas game came in a little bit better than we were thinking that it might.
The third, and fourth quarter, probably a lot. When they cut it off, they cut it off fourth quarter.
They did cut it off.
That was a bad move.
So no, sir, I wouldn't say that that's really performing, that's really outperforming what we thought it would. 47,000 in 23, we're budgeting 51,000 in fiscal 24. The next line down we have is our red light traffic, cameras. The revenues from that are really trending down as well.
But that might be a good thing.
It's from fewer cameras. It's
Oh,
not necessarily
I
from
thought maybe
less.
people were running red lights in Tuscaloosa.
Aldot will not let us, reinstall cameras that are taken down from construction projects,
Oh, wow.
et cetera. And the law that created red light money has criteria to it, and most local streets will not meet that criteria.
So, on down the surplus from the RFFI, that transfer amount from 1 million, it was, approved and set in fiscal 23 also. We are not planning for that to happen again, so that's a 0 in 24. So those are the total revenues that go into this fund.
I got you.
For fiscal 23, we're anticipating that's gonna be about 7.3 million. And then to be able to pay for the additional pieces of the public safety pay plan, the way that we consider this is that we take what police and fire salaries were prior to the new pay plan. And then we take what they would be if they stayed under the regular city pay plan on forward, so that they would get the same amount of COLAs that we got, they would get the same amount of step raises that we got. And then we juxtapose that with what they actually did get under their new pay plan. The difference between those two items is what you see in these line items here. So additional police salary and benefits for fiscal 23 for their new pay plan is about $2 million. For fire, it's about 2.3 million. And then we also are paying out of this fund the costs that it is taking for the actuaries to do their work for our RSA transfer, and then for our attorneys to do all of the work with RSA to create the transition seamlessly. Those total expenses out of the fund for fiscal 23 is projected at 4.4 million. So therefore, we have a surplus within this fund for fiscal 23 of 2.9. We add that to the surplus we had last year, we get to the 3.2. That will sit and hopefully grow for fiscal 24 in the exact same fashion that I just kind of walked through to 5.2 million.
Thank you. I just wanted us to kind of go through that so we have
Absolutely.
understand it. Thank you.
Harlan, you're pretty good at stuff on top of your head. I'm
That's a dangerous
Without-
compliment.
Without,
Thank you.
without, it's been a compliment, without my caffeine. Going back to the first day that this council and mayor got reelected, mayor got reelected, all of us got put on the council. We passed a pay plan for fire employees, right?
Yes, sir.
Percentage wise. Sorry. Come on now. Percentage wise.
Kip is here.
And that's, he gets here at 9:30, he'll be here in just a minute. But percentage wise, remind me what that was. I remember it was, but because where I'm going with this is, we have done that. We have also, we're adjusting pretty big this year for everybody. We've also done bonuses and we've also done COLAs. What is the actual percentage that this council and mayor have approved in the last 2.5 years?
So for, as far as increase,
Yes.
there is a slide in the budget presentation too that I could probably pull. I think if I can talk through it like more anecdotally, that's probably a little bit better instead of just giving you a straight number. So from the old pay plan to the new pay plan, the differences between the two is that public safety gave up their automatic COLAs in their pay plan. And instead they went to a required step increase. The step increase is set at 2.5%. The original pay plan guaranteed a COLA and 2 steps of 1.5%. But also within that new pay plan, all of the sworn individuals were re-ranked within their steps according to seniority. So their in-service date, within police and fire, they then got re-ranked within their step system. So if they had missed a step raise and they had been working for 5 years, but they were only at step 2, they then got re-ranked into step 5. In
So that
addition
was a
to
pretty
the
big raise,
increases
pretty
within the
big
line.
Right.
For some people it was.
It was.
I can pull you
It's
total
fine.
dollars.
I think the point of what I'm saying is, we as a council and mayor are so committed to our fire and policemen. And being competitive is so important to the future of this city. And I think that everybody should see that, and also I hope our employees see how much we are trying to do to make things competitive, because I think that's what's gonna help solve some of these personnel problems. So, but it's pretty eye-opening, you know, what we've done.
Absolutely, and to go back to the, especially for the public safety fund save up, you know, we will do a full 10-year projection with this. Obviously, I don't wanna publish a 10-year projection right now, just because it is so, you know, fuzzy and keeping it changes, you know, every couple of months. But I will say that our plan as of today is to have about $10 million saved up prior to conversion. That $10 million will help us through the first couple of lean years, to be able to pay for the full amount of the RSA conversion. As of right now, the last valuation that we have, will be about $8.2 million, for the additional cost that it will cost the city overall to transition the police and fire to RSA. So hopefully that $10 million save up for the year will be able to be paired with any additional revenues to be able to then pay those extra costs. 8.2. I do anticipate this year the 8.2 going up. Hopefully not significantly, but it will go up.
Carly, Chief can answer this, but one of the numbers that stuck out to me too, remind me what the lease payments are, because it's jumped up in the last, I'm sure it's equipment, right?
Yes, sir. The lease payment is actually Axon, our new body camera system, and then our tasers through Axon as well. So I believe it's the last payment of tasers right now. And then our body camera system. We had to upgrade our body camera system. The one we were using was out of date. In today's times, it's so important to have that body camera to protect the officers and protect the public. So we went with a more robust system. So that's what that is.
Mr. Chairman,
Right.
what jumped out to me was the area of public education. We had it in 2022 and it's not there now. Can you?
Yes, sir. That money, I believe, is out of Dr. Rush's. Is that the one that communications?
Okay,
And basically, money's still there. Dr. Rush is amazing with working with us. When we need something, that's done there, but it just kind of jumped out of our budget into his budget.
okay,
You know, we do Citizens Academy out of that and other programs throughout the city out of that budget as well.
okay, cool.
Ms. Standards, the 3.2 million in the retention bonuses, does that show in here in the 23 original budget, or is that added afterwards?
So when we published, if you'll recall, we did the retention bonuses literally the week before we presented the budget to council. So no, the budget revision was done after the book went to publishing.
Okay,
So, but if it were to be done today, you would see it in this special bonus line item. So like just below the salary line, you'll see a special bonus line. On page 129, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm on 127, all right. I'm back with you, so it's not on line that says salaries,
No, sir, it would be on that line that says special bonus right below it.
special bonus, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so is it accurate to say that the 23 budget, instead of being 23.3 million, is 26 million?
No, we did take some of their salary savings and move it into that. I can look that up.
That's right, we took 1.5 out of his and the balance.
1.4.
So add should we add 1.5 to that 23.3? That's what, I mean,
I can get
That's what
exactly what that is.
the budget to date looks like. The 23 budget to date.
Let's see, currently, the 2023 budget to date, or revised budget amount for police is for salaries, is 21,633,000. And then
Am I looking at a different, I'm looking on page 129,
I'm saying that from when this book went to print,
right?
when it went to print, it was prior to the special bonus
Gotcha.
budget
Completely
revision.
follow.
So now with the special bonus budget revision, their salary line is 21.6 million, and their special bonus line is 3 million.
Okay, so the 23.2, you took away the 1.5
Yes, sir.
and you added it back into special bonus.
Right. Along with a lot of other department savings.
Huh?
Yep.
Any finance committee, go ahead, Mr.
Couple things. I want to compliment you on that, holiday.
Thanks, sir.
I'm sure some people weren't happy with that,
We changed some stuff.
but thank you for doing that. I think it's the right thing to do. I just want to make it clear, we're not losing any auxiliary officers from the schools, correct?
No, sir, we couldn't fill those vacancies, so those
I
are
got
not
you.
vacant positions.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, is the garage, is that fully employed? Everybody, you got everybody you need at the police garage? 'Cause, I mean, I know that's a big deal.
Yes, sir, police garage is full.
Okay, that's all I have.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bill, I didn't understand the question. You said we're not losing the auxiliary officers?
We had 5 vacancies from auxiliaries that were not full. Jobs been posted for over a year without being able to fill. So the decision was made at that point to go ahead and move those positions over to do city savings as departments across the city gave up what they needed to make the budget work. So that was our contributions because you could not fill those positions.
One of the things we challenged our department heads back in May, when I began working on the budget, the team had been going 6 to 8 weeks before that, is that if we all felt as leaders that the pay increase was the most important thing, what was everyone gonna sacrifice to help us get there? And for chief, we discussed the issue of the auxiliary officers. We're filling those positions with police officers, so I don't want you to leave here and think our schools do not have coverage. They absolutely do. So again, we're having even more discussions with the school system on security, but those positions just will not fill at this time. So we're using our own staff, and we just didn't think in the future, frankly, and this is Walt speaking, not necessarily the chief. I think from my preference, as much as we can have an APO certified police officer in that school, I'd feel more comfortable with that as well. To do that is challenging with the hiring, with everything else, but you know, you see what you see in Uvalde and other places across the United States. I'd feel more comfortable having an APO certified officer when we can in those schools.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead.
Chief, let me thank you for your presentation this morning. And I believe that the city of Tuscaloosa, this council and mayor are very committed to supporting our police department because we need that. And I'm part of the social emotional team, and to say, regardless of how much money we can put here, we gotta have a great team of people and gotta have great morale to keep people together and wanting to be a part of our police department and with opportunities to grow. And so that's what I hope will come out of what we've done fiscally for our police, that they will feel that we care about them and that there's room to grow in Tuscaloosa's police department.
Yes, sir, I completely agree. And some of the things that we've done is, we do award ceremonies twice a year now. We bring Santa Claus in for the officers' kids. So work on morale is something that, we're investing heavily in. The take-home cars and the other things I've done that. I've talked to a lot of officers that have recently got cars, and they're out there working and they're very appreciative of all that kind of stuff. So I can assure you morale is at the top of our priority list of things we can do.
'Cause it's a hard
that don't
job.
cost money. Yes, sir.
It's a hard job to do what y'all do.
Okay, or any other questions or comments from either the finance committee or the council in general?
Well, I just wanna let Chief know my neighbors and people in that area appreciative of the task force. Recently, not recently, for the last, I don't know, we've been dealing with it maybe a year between the hours of 2 and 5. That's when you have armed assailants breaking into cars, houses, and door cams been catching them. They've been coming, shaking people's doors. They caught some lady and robbed her outside of the house. But Chief and forming the task force and swarming those times mornings, and then even when you're at work from hours from maybe 9 to 2 with people gone. So I think that we've seen a significant change in the people that's coming in the areas breaking in, and so that was a difficult thing to do, and that's why you have to count that with the hours and the overtime. You can't really gauge overtime, and you can't even put a. It depends on it depends on the climate
As we call it.
of the area. You know what I mean? So
He can't
I just
control it.
I just want to tell you, I appreciate that because they were wearing us out. And we needed it. You know what I mean? So I appreciate
And you'll be hearing from me.
Shortly about some things I'm doing in my area.
But he can't control the overtime all the time. He just can't say no overtime.
Yeah, that's why I say you can't get it. You just gotta, this is that kind of gig. In the restaurant business, we call work, you work to volume. You don't work, you know what I mean? You don't have a time to get off. You work when it calms down a bit. Yeah, they work in the volume 24/7, so appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank y'all for y'all's continued support.
And Chief, we did the chart that I had y'all do for us prior to the retention bonus, I would ask that y'all continue the monthly progression, keeping that updated.
Yes, sir. Brother.
And I would hope that we'll resume seeing your face and Chief Smith's face in our public safety committee meetings, presenting just eyeball to eyeball instead of email.
Yes, sir. Brother.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, Chair, did you ask for the committees to come back to the public safety meeting? Is that what you were requesting?
No,
The
I'm
reports, oh, okay.
what I talked to you about. I hope we will resume having the actual brief as opposed to just the email submissions.
From all of our departments, right?
Whatever you
Rescue,
think of
okay,
that.
okay, got you.
Chief Smith, welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. Oh, let's see.
Ours starts up on page 83.
Chief, will you get me that civilian employee information?
Within an hour.
What page on, Chief?
83. 83, sorry.
Good morning.
Morning. Just a little bit about the department that you probably already know, but just to give you a little additional details. Tuscaloosa Fire Rescue is an all hazards response. We respond emergency and non-emergency to the community's needs. But basically what that means, if you can think of it, people call us for it.
You're right, Chief.
You know, there's a lot of non-traditional fire service things that we do. You know, but it's to support the community, you know, from helping with, you know, I won't get into all the great details because it would take a long time, but there are a lot of things that we are out there doing now that traditionally we have not done in the past. Division-wise,
What are the most expensive of those?
as far as cost per, I mean, it's gonna depend on what I guess the way we look at that. We could look at the amount of apparatus we're sending, the cost of the apparatus, the cost of the personnel,
Nothing,
the type of
nothing
incident.
jumps out to you as, and the big two are blah, blah, and blah, blah.
I mean, we've been blessed that we haven't had any, and I hate to say this, major structure fires in the city. Of course, those can be very costly.
You mean since Moody Music Hall?
Since Moody, we haven't had anything of that significance. Now, I'm gonna be in trouble if this happens, and so I say that all the time, but they tell me I have a black cloud.
Of course, if it's your house that burns, it's a significant struggle.
Well, it is. And,
All right, I didn't mean to derail you, go
Right,
ahead.
no problem.
Respond to anything.
Our 7 divisions consist of the Communications Division, our EMS and EMS Prevention Division, Fire Prevention or Fire Marshal's Office, our Logistics Division, our Operations Division, Training Division, and finally our Administrative Section. We have 278 total personnel within the department. Of that, 259 are certified, and we have 18 civilian positions. Our current vacancies, currently we have 3 certified vacancies, one of which did leave to go to the University Police Department. So it did affect us also. And we have 2 civilian dispatch positions that just became vacant this last week. As you know, we were level funded, excluding several areas, one being, and we very much appreciate, I want to make sure that is delivered wholeheartedly to everyone, that we very much appreciate the consideration of the COLA and the step raise. The requested increases that you will see coming out of our budget are in auto fuel maintenance. There is a $40,000 increase in our ambulance franchise fees. This is to cover the medical director, our consultant fee, but also our pilot blood program that we're working on. But the good thing is that is offset by the ambulance franchise fees and fines and penalties that we receive. Our overtime and holiday pay have gone up due to the COLA and STEP. There was an increase you'll see in Communications Division, which is our 16 budget, of around $40,000 for holiday pay. The division's now 3 years old and working really well. It's been a huge benefit to our department and to the way we respond to the community's needs. But, you know, it was an oversight in everyone's, wheelhouse that holiday pay wasn't in there because, holiday, like the line personnel that have to be out there to make the responses, if no one's sitting at dispatch, then there's really no reason for any of us to be out in the field. So, they work 24/7, 365, just like the folks in the field do. So the holiday pay was there, is added now. The utilities have gone up, of course. We did have a 10% decrease in travel and education, which was to help with the overall paying of the 8.6% COLA and STEP. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Probst, Mr.
Chief, on page 89, can you speak to me about the longevity bonus? What is that?
The longevity bonus is, I believe it's the bonus that is paid, please correct me if I'm wrong, at a 5-year mark.
There's different grades, but it's state required. It's a state required longevity bonus for public safety officers, that is at different levels depending on longevity amounts.
It's the same thing, I believe, in the police department.
It is.
For public safety.
Every 5 years?
I think it is every 5, it's based on 5, 10, 15, et cetera, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
Okay.
Well,
Not a lot in there other than that difference in size.
I'm sorry?
I mean, your budget is pretty, it hadn't moved a ton, Chief. I mean,
No, sir, it hasn't.
Other than the step and salary. Most of it's, I guess I'll look at stuff for reasonableness.
Well, we understood, we did have some personnel that we were looking to try to do and some equipment, but, in the big scheme, we felt like that, to help everyone in the city, all the employees in the city get that well-deserved COLA, we'll pull back and reevaluate. But we have a good fleet program going now, so that helps keep our guys running, and our fleet is pretty strong. We have some needs, but we're doing okay for at least another year.
How much is a new ladder truck cost?
Trucks nowadays are going up exponentially. The ladder truck that we just purchased was 1.5. it went up, probably $150,000 over the time it was being constructed. To get a ladder truck now, the next one we're looking at replacing will be truck 31. We're going to be requesting it go to a tiller style truck, which is a tractor driven, similar to what truck 32 at Station 2 is. You're looking around $2 million and 3 years to get it. If we order it today, it'll be 3 years from
That's
today.
the big
before.
deal. I mean, the money's important, but 3 years.
Yes, sir, and that's gonna be the problem for the foreseeable future, with a lot of our apparatus requests. Engines are taking almost 2 years now, ladders are taking at least 3 years. Ambulances to replace are taking 18 months. So it's just, everybody jumped out there as quick as they could and started purchasing these and putting them on hold. The one good thing is, even though I know it's a nightmare for finance, but if we did reach out and committed to the company that, hey, we're gonna pay, we're gonna buy this truck, buy a new ladder truck, we wouldn't have to pay for it for 3 years. But I know we have to have the money in the bank to be able to cover that. As I said, that's gonna be our request down the road, probably the next year to 2 years. You'll be seeing that request come across, but just remember, we'll keep you updated. Anything you order right now, emergency response wise, as far as fire trucks, ambulances, and ladder trucks, could be anywhere from 18 months to 3 year delivery time. And that price is going up every minute.
How do we typically pay for those? Do we put half down and pay half on delivery, or?
We've done it several different ways. We've paid cash for them, for most of them. We did, the last time the council, the previous council approved, we did a lease purchase, or finance, 3 engines and a ladder truck. I think it was just over $3 million. But once we got going into the budget, the decision was made by the mayor and everyone, that we go ahead and pay that off early, and it saved the city some money. But we can pay, if we prepay some of the money, of course, we get a discount on the purchase. But again, that fluctuates, depends on how much the truck is, and it depends on, how hungry the manufacturers are, so to speak.
A lot of sharp percentage jump in auto fuel and maintenance.
Just the cost of response, with the prices of fuel going up, and
I thought we budgeted fuel down for 24.
Generally, fuel prices are down in 24 compared to 23. However, the type of fuel that he uses and the size of his fleet, or the size of the individual pieces within his fleet, sometimes his can be a little bit different than the regular.
What type of fuel do you use?
we're using diesel fuel and everything, but again, our rescue trucks, the majority of them now, again, based off of our fleet officer's recommendation, we switched from a diesel driven to a gasoline driven truck to help with that, and also some of the maintenance costs on that will be a little lower. But yeah, some of the apparatus, they don't get real good gas mileage.
No, I understand. I got that. But the reason I was asking is, if we budgeted fuel going down, then the more it used, the less it should be.
Well, it also includes includes the maintenance side of it.
Okay.
Our maintenance costs, because we do have several trucks. As I said, ladder truck 31 was out of service for a while, had some extensive repairs, and those were pretty costly. So you'll see every once in a while, we're replacing a motor, we're replacing transmissions, so those are pretty significant increases in our budget, or cost to our budget that they have to end up finding money to cover.
Okay.
Chief of MLI, y'all do a lot of that work.
We do a lot of the work in-house now. A lot of things that you see in our fleet department, our division has really helped. A lot of things you used to see is every time a truck would have an issue, from windshield wipers to tires to transmission, would have to go to the city shop, overloading them. By us having our fleet, now we're not having to take the trucks off duty as often. our mechanics can respond out to the station and do some of the work, or they'll keep it in their fleet area. We have a small garage set up at the training logistics area, that we have, you know, our fleet personnel will work on the trucks there. But having those fleet people really helps us, you know, keep the trucks where, you know, and I use the windshield wiper blades because it's happened to me numerous times throughout my career. You'd have to take a truck on the weekends if you had windshield wipers. You know, if you couldn't find them, you'd take the truck off duty, even though it's not raining, still the potential. And, you know, we have a wreck now, the city's liable. So we would have to take that truck off duty, swap into a truck. You know, now we don't have to do that as often. With having the fleet officer there available to respond out, to take care of minor requests, minor repairs, we're able to keep that downtime, and it keeps the trucks in their areas and keeps them available for emergency or non-emergency responses.
Good. All right, any other questions, comments from either Finance Committee or Council at large? Chief Smith, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Core,
Council voted that
Yeah.
was 75.
75.
That's where they aim.
Well,
Appreciate that.
Morning, council.
good morning.
So ours starts on page 101.
All right.
Just a brief overview, we have 14 full-time positions, no part-time, and 1 vacancy.
Yeah.
And then any questions that y'all have, I don't have any major points or major changes on our budget.
What is the vacancy?
Our vacancy is the assistant court administrator position.
That's your old position?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
All right, any other questions from the Finance Committee? Comments?
Are you gonna be disappointed if you don't stand up here 10 minutes?
No.
Okay. You sure?
I'm here for whatever you got.
Seems like you got it covered. All right. Any comments or questions from the council members at large?
Thank you for what
Okay,
you do.
thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
will say this, when she interviewed, she had a great plan and the whole 9 yards, so I appreciate the fact she's got it under control.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, let's take a 10-minute break, and then we will come back and do the budget review and wrap up.
I
know, right? Boy, I tell you, I'd
You'd be getting a big one if we did about that.
That's right.
Budget daily wrap up and review, Ms. Sanders, is up to you.
Mr. Busby, I'm gonna ask Ms. Sanders if I could start it off, because there is
Sure.
one issue we do need to address in public safety is the, opportunity to do it, is Fire Station 6. As part of the capital budget, the council requested that we reduce the, and approved of reducing the line item recommendation from 6 million down to 2 million and finance what we anticipate to be the $4 million delta. We need authorization and direction on how to move forward with that. Fire Station 6 is nearing the point of going to bids.
Okay.
We cannot go to bids without a funding source in place under city law.
Okay.
And so we would just wanna have Ms. Standridge and myself and her team just wanna have a discussion of what are y'all thinking about a line of credit? Are you thinking of permanent financing? Are you thinking of wrapping into a bond issue? We need a general direction so we can move forward and keep the fire station on the bids as well.
Would love to have that discussion. Do we need to do that as part of the overall budget hearing, or having been addressed in the capital projects, is it sufficient to move forward and all that's lacking is a decision on what method of financing?
We do not have any revenue, the decision came after the point of where my budget submittal, so we do not have any debt service. We need to go ahead and amend this budget to have some sort of debt service for the Fire Station 4. So, but we don't know the amount of debt service to recommend until we have an idea of, again, are we looking at a line of credit, a traditional 5-year financing? We need to settle that discussion, or to settle that direction as part of the overall discussion. Otherwise,
As part of the overall 24 budget
Yes, sir.
discussion? Okay. So is finance prepared to present financing options?
We have researched some line of credit options, and we can present that. Now, we
Are
have
there
not,
other options that you've researched and will present to us?
we have reached out and asked about the traditional 5-year financing, through just a regular bank financing. I'll be honest, they really pushed us much more towards a line of credit, because I think that the way the interest rates are going these days, at the time that we were looking at it, you weren't wanting to play with variable rates for any significant long-term period. So we can re-up the 5-year traditional bank financing if we think that that's amenable. Obviously, I think that at $4 million, which is a very, very, very low principal amount to finance, I think that paying it off as quickly as possible is the most conservative route to go. Knowing also that we will possibly have a decent amount of a surplus this upcoming fiscal year to possibly be able to pay it off completely.
When would you like to make those recommendations? Because I agree, Mayor, that we need to have that discussion. Excuse me. If it is to be part of the 2024 budget, absolutely. But typically, I would think the way that it would be presented to the Finance Committee is Accounting and Finance would come and present us 3 financing options and brief us on what's involved in those, both cost-wise and time-wise. Are y'all?
Well, that
when would you
depends on
like
how
to
soon
do?
they need to go to bid, right? If we need to go to bid, we need to make an immediate decision pretty soon, right?
I think we're just looking for direction. If the council is open to the idea of a line of credit, then we can definitely present those options, and that would be my preferred way to go.
We're
If it
certainly
is-
open to it.
So,
But I would hope we would be presented with more than just one option. I would like to see 3 options for financing, and if we want to do that in next week's Finance Committee, we can approve it and include it as part of the 24 budget proposal.
I think there would probably, based on our conversations, I think there'd probably only be 2. One would be the line of credit that at some point you'd pay off, wrapping
Out of
it
surplus.
out of surplus, wrapping it into another bond issue, something like that. Number 2 would be what Ms. Sanders talked about, paying it off 5 years or 10 years. I know one of the reasons why the council wanted not to use the cash in the surplus was because you felt it's a 30-year asset, it should be financed over the life of the value of the
We
asset.
felt it was a 50-year asset and that financing was the appropriate match of capital provision for it.
But for $4 million, I don't know if you want to finance that over, not to say it's just $4 million, but do you really want to finance that? $4
Your
million?
interest, you'd pay a lot more than $4 million.
Yeah. So I think the two options we would have for you would be line of credit or a five-year payment would be probably the two primary options based off the discussions we had in June.
And you would not roll it into another upcoming bond issue and only use the line of credit to get it to that point?
That
Well,
would-
and so, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I think that would be another decision for the council to make at that point, because when you look over the horizon, we have a couple of bond issues that will probably move forward in the next possibly 3 to 8 months, and that's Jack Warner Parkway, Martin Luther King Phase 3, Savings Center. So we know those are coming. We're certainly trying to, the timing of that. You could, with the line of credit, that buys you a little time to look at what rates are, what they'll be. None of us know in 3 to 6 months. That could buy you a little bit of time if you want to just kind of wait and play the market out. But we can present you the two and then go from there next week. But we would need to put something as a placeholder in the fiscal 24 budget as a debt service payment sometime in 24.
Carly, what's that interest rate on credit right now?
Currently, we're looking at about 5.5%. With an origination fee and issuance cost of about $10,000.
And it changes.
They'll all be
It's
variable
all variable.
rates. Yes, sir.
Well, I am perfectly open to, I'm sure we can get somebody to make a motion to include it on today's finance if we want to get started on it. It's gonna be, it's a pretty heavy schedule, knowing that we might need to continue that to finish up next Tuesday. But a placeholder for the interest, the debt service would take the form of what?
So we probably look at about 75,000 to 100,000 for a line of
So
credit.
we would bookmark, we would pencil that into the 24 budget, knowing that it may change depending on what option we choose and what rates have done in between.
And that will allow us to move forward with the bids.
Oh, well,
Because we will have it in the budget, therefore we will meet city
We'll,
ordinance.
we'll introduce that at Finance Committee today, and I don't think there'll be any problem, place marking that to move forward at all.
I think that's a good idea.
Thank you.
All right, is there any other wrap-up from today's presentation or overall, Ms. Stanton, that either you or the mayor want to provide? Okay. Is there anything anybody else on the Finance Committee would like to bring up?
Can you talk about the path forward, where we, because we have finance today to go over a bunch of stuff.
So we have finance today, we've got 3, 4, 5 kind of routine issues, and then we have a list of 17, I think, 14 or 17, Ms. Standridge.
There's 16 total, we have 3 regular business items, so there's 13 total, budget enactment resolutions.
So the budget component of today's Finance Committee is broken down into 13 different resolutions or actions that bundled together make the 24 budget. And we will work to get through those today in Finance Committee with the goal of putting it on the full council for next week. And I think that buys, I think we still have allowed an extra week just in case.
Just in case, non-unanimous consent occurs.
Okay. Any other questions or comments before we adjourn from the budget hearing session this morning?